my name is Melanie, and I'm a 3-star director at the Tupperware Les Diamants office. I'm 58, I have 3 kids who are 22, 24, and 26, and I've been married for 33 years to my husband, Alan. In my former life, I worked in the pharmaceutical industry. I have a PhD in pharmaceutical technology. And I joined Tupperware 10 years ago to really improve my French was one thing, and to be able to make some money part-time, but to always be at home at 3:30 in the afternoon when my kids came from school. I stay at Tupperware because I've managed to make a good income. I have a car. I actually have now realized that you can make really good money at Tupperware. And the most important thing, I get to change lots of people's lives. So when I got married 33 years ago, I said to my husband, Alan, if you get a meal at night, you need to view it as a bonus, because I hated cooking. So imagine my shock when I had made the decision to try and sell Tupperware, that I actually had to cook in parties. So what I can say is that I have learned through doing recipes with Tupperware that as long as you have the right tools and you do things in the right way, your meals can be nutritious, quick, and delicious. So I'm going to start this morning by showing you one of my favorite products. I'm guessing nobody out there likes to chop onions. So what we're going to do this morning, we're going to use Tupperware's Power Chef, which is our...
Melanie, my love, before we go on, because people at home, I want them to hear your entire menu before we start. Give us a run through everything you're going to be doing within 15 minutes.
Okay, so in 15 minutes, I'm going to make 2 stack meals, one in the Tupperware stack cooker, and I'm doing a crumble on the top, I'm doing popcorn chicken in the middle, and I'm making a marinara sauce on the bottom. I'm also going to be doing a stack meal in our Tupperware 4-in-1 multi-cooker, and in this I'm going to do a pork dish with rice and vegetables. I'm also going to be making a pizza, because that's one of the favorite recipes of my husband, so I wanted to make sure I showed everybody out there how easy it is to make a pizza using Tupperware's Ultra Pro, and I'm actually just going to be using the lid of the Ultra Pro to make my pizza. So all of that in 15 minutes. So I better get a move on. So to start with, I want to show you the Power Chef. I want to show you how easy it is to even chop 1 garlic. So my garlic, it's already peeled, and one of the great things about the Power Chef is it doesn't slip when you use it. The blades are at different levels, and it has these baffles around the edge, so that when you're chopping, all your stuff keeps going back to the middle instead of sticking to the side. So here we go now with just chopping the garlic. Isn't that amazing? Chop down.
Don't move, my love. Lift it. Okay. So we can see at home how beautifully thin it came out, minced.
And now I'm going to take my onions, which of course when I'm at home come from my onion keeper, which I keep by my back door where it's a little bit cooler, and my onions last ages, and even better, I don't have all those horrible onion skins running around in my cupboards. So the Tupperware onion keeper is definitely worth having. So now we're going to chop down the onions. And you can go as small as you want to, but I think you'll agree that that is a lovely small onion cut. So what we're going to do with this now is we're going to put that aside, because I'm going to use it in my recipe for my pork. But I also needed onions to make my marinara sauce. Now, one of the most important things about cooking in the microwave is you need to be kind to your fruit and vegetables. And what I mean by that is when you're cooking with onions, on the stovetop, we always cook the onions first, and they're soft. And the reason we cook them first is because
Don't pay attention to me. Just go with your recipe.
But the reason we cook them first is because we want to actually let the sugars start to come out of the onions. So We call it caramelizing on the stovetop. When I do it in the microwave, I'm waiting for my onions to be translucent. And as soon as they're translucent, I know that the sugars have started to be released. And so now I'm going to have a great flavor for my onions instead of them being bitter. So there you can see my caramelized onions with some Italian seasoning. So I did that a little bit earlier. And to make the marinara sauce that I'm going to make today, my next ingredient is my tomatoes. And I'm going to chop those now in the same chopper that I used for the onions. And I just want to tell you, any of you out there that don't know, please never use diced tomatoes. Always use whole plum tomatoes, and if you can use San Marzano tomatoes, you're going to find that it's really, really delicious. Instead of getting a runny water liquid, you have a really nice paste. Now, don't ever buy these from the general store because they're going to cost you $5 a can. The place to get them is Costco. You can get 6 cans of San Marzano tomatoes for $8.79. So that's a piece of advice I give to everyone. And honestly, before I joined Tupperware, I didn't even know there was such a thing. So now what we're going to do is chop down our tomatoes. And you see, I just used the same top. So you also want to save on your washing up. Like, don't get a clean thing out every time, especially if it's going to be used in the same recipe. So we're going to put our top onto here. Make sure that it's connected. And now we're going to do our tomatoes. So we're basically making this now into liquid. And of course, you can do smoothies in here. They're not going to be smoothies like your Magic Bullet. They're going to have some texture, but they're going to be delicious and fresh. And you get exercise. So actually, you can cancel your gym membership. You just have to remember to do the other arm as well. Okay? So now we have our tomatoes chopped. And we're going to add the tomatoes to the mixture. And I'm going to use one of my Tupperware spatulas. So we add our tomatoes in. We already have our Italian seasoning in. And this is going to make a delicious recipe, which you can use for several things. So today I'm going to use it to go on the top of my pizza dough, which I'm going to make for you in a minute. And I'm also going to use it as a sauce for my chicken, popcorn chicken, which I'm going to make in the next level. Okay, so one of the great things about the Tupperware stack cooker is that you can make savory and sweet things all at the same time. So in the middle of here, I'm actually now going to make my popcorn chicken. And what I did with the chicken earlier, now this is one of my favorite ways to bread chicken, is to use the Tupperware marinator, which actually is on special at the moment. You can get the large one and the small one. And what we have here is chicken, which came straight from my...
Smells so good, Melanie. Oh.
Came straight from my freezer, already cut. When I come in from the store, the first thing I'm going to do is anything that I put in my freezers, they're cut, ready to go however I want to use them. So I've got Italian breadcrumbs, I've got Italian seasoning, and of course Parmesan cheese. So now the easy way to bread these is you just put this lid on, and of course being Tupperware, when you put it on it's tight and sealed. So it's sealed all around, and then you just shake it. And I like to shake it until I can't hear a lot of rattling, because then I know that all of my powders have been used up. Okay, so that sounds pretty good. So now we're going to open this up, and abracadabra, look at that, ready, already breaded. So now this is going to be very easy to put straight into my middle section of my stack cooker. So I don't want to actually touch it. If you have a pair of tongs, that's really good. And because I'm short, I'm standing on tippy toes now to get this in. So we're going to put all of this chicken in, and you want it to be just one layer. because the moment you start to put 2 layers of chicken, you're in danger of not cooking it all the way through, and we don't want that to happen, because the first thing people will say is, well, I knew it wouldn't work in the microwave. So what you want to do is make sure you follow the instructions, just 1 layer of chicken all the time, so you're not overstressing your cooker. Okay, so I think I can probably get a couple more pieces in. And you know, when meat cooks in the microwave, it shrinks. So you can squidge it in as long as it's not on top of another piece. So there we go, and we'll just get these last little morsels in. And I'll press it all down before I put it in the microwave. And there we have it. Okay, so now I've got my chicken ready. Okay, so you know, my husband, he has a sweet tooth, and he loves to have desserts. And I'm not about to make a whole load of other things messy. So guess what? I'm going to make my dessert on the top. So on the top of here, I've got some frozen fruit, and I'm going to make a crumble mixture to go on the top of the frozen fruit. So in here, I have oats, I have flour, I have brown sugar. There's about 3/4 cup of each, and some butter. And the butter is just a little bit less than 1/2 cup. So now what I'm going to do is use my Quick Chef, which in terms of how they work pretty much the same way, except this one you have more control over the sizes of things that are chopped. It too has the baffles on the edge, the silicone on the bottom. And what I like about it is, whereas this one works my arms, this one works my abs. And once again, because I'm short, I'm standing on tippy toes. And we're just going to work this all together until we form our crumble. And look at that. In a matter of no time at all, there you have your crumble mix.
Oh, Melanie, look at that.
So now we're going to put the crumble mix on the top of our fruit. And then we're going to put the whole thing. Now for this, you're going to only put it in the microwave for about 20 minutes. Because you're not doing a whole load of sauce and that sort of thing. If you're doing rice and water and doing all sorts of other things, you can go up to 30 minutes in your stack cooker. But today we're going to do 20 minutes in the microwave at 100% power.
So some of them just joined us now. Just recap. Bottom you have?
Bottom I have marinara sauce. Middle I have popcorn chicken. Top I have small fruits crumble.
Thank you. How much time?
We're going to do 20 minutes on high. And just because I know that you're all dying to know what it's going to come out like, I actually have one ready, prepared in advance. And here's my crumble on the top. And I promise you, if you ever make this once, you're going to be wanting to make it every day. It's so delicious. In the middle, there I have my chicken ready to go. And I will warn you, mums at home with kids, once you start making chicken like this, those chicken nugget packets are never going to be accepted at home. Because the kids love the flavor that you can give them in homemade chicken nuggets. And now here I have my marinara sauce, which I'm going to use in a minute to go on top of my pizza. Now, when you see the marinara sauce, obviously that's way too much for one pizza. So how do I use my marinara sauce? Once it's made, I make sure that I freeze it in portions, in my small versions of my freezers, because then I can make up to 5 or 6 pizzas, or I can use this for the popcorn chicken, or other things I do is I'll cook pasta and use this for pasta. So by making one recipe, I've probably got 8 other things I can do with it. For me, that's what cooking's all about. So I'll put those over there. Okay, so I've been tempting you with talking about the pizza, but before we go on to the pizza, I'm going to make the use the 4-in-1 multi-cooker, and we're going to make some pork. So the 4-in-1 cooker is amazing. You can use it in layers, or you can use just the outside with the top to do rice, or without the top to do pasta. In the layers, this is metal coated with plastic, so it's not going to allow the microwaves to go through. It's only heated by steam. So in the bottom of here, I have 1 cup of basmati rice, and I'm going to add 1 3/4 cups of chicken broth. This is Tupperware's quick shake, so we're going to put this into the bottom. And you're right, I said 1 3/4 cups, because when you do it on the stove top, you're always going to use 1 cup of rice to 2 cups of water, and I bet half the time the water boils out, you burn the bottom of the pan, or your rice comes out really stodgy. So we're going to use just 1 3/4 cups of water. In the middle section, remember those onions I cut earlier with the garlic? I'm going to take those now and put them into the middle section, which as you can see has holes. So it is just going to be heated because it too is plastic, metal coated with plastic. So we're going to put that into here. And then on top of here, I've got some pork. Now, usually what I do when I buy pork is I add, just as with my chicken, I cut it into the sizes that I want to use it as. And in this case, I had cut my fillet pork tenderloin into strips. And often what I'll do is I'll actually season my pork tenderloin and put it into my container. So when I end up making this recipe, I literally just tip it out into here. This morning I used my same magic method to coat my pork. And all I'm going to do is pour the pork onto the top of here. And once again, I'm going to make sure the pork is not on top of each other. We have 1 layer of pork. But once again, it's going to shrink while it's cooking. So I'm not too worried about it.
So a beautiful concept with the multi 4-in-1 cooker is the onions protect the meat from overcooking, because by the time the onion layer starts cooking, then the steam goes through the beef, and then last it goes through the upper. So whatever takes least time to cook has to rise to the top.
So just as Maria said, the onions are there to protect the meat. They cover all the holes so it doesn't, the steaming doesn't come through too fast. You're going to have the meat on top of that. And now I want to add in some carrots. Now carrots are a hard vegetable, so I'm going to put them in this layer so they have a better chance to cook through. And they just add a little bit of extra color and flavor. And then on my top level, at the moment I've got some pieces of pepper cut, and these peppers came out from my fridge. They've been in my fridge 2 weeks in my Tupperware Fridge Smarts, and I wanted to show you this Fridge Smart. This is the small one. This has 2 heads of broccoli in at the moment. That's right, 2 heads of broccoli, because once you put your broccoli into florets, you can actually take up much less room in your fridge. And all I'm going to do is sprinkle some of these onto the top of here, and that will add.
Whoa, that's beautiful.
And then what are we going to do? We're going to put the lid on. We're going to put this in the microwave for just 15 minutes. The water will come up through, it'll cook the rice, it'll cook the onion, cook the meat, cook the carrots, and finally it'll cook our vegetables, which are on the top, which are the most fragile of all of those, so your veggies don't get overcooked. So that is now going to go into the microwave.
I'll do it for you. Yeah, here. Okay.
And once again, I want to show you one that was prepared earlier. And what we're going to do with this one is, I need a top. What we're going to do with this now is we're going to add in some fresh stuff. So I have, it's pork, so I've got some apple here, and I've got some parsley. And I want to show you this because I want you to see how great the Power Chef is in chopping down herbs. But I want to reveal you the vegetables. So there's my veggies on the top, delicious. There's my pork, And when it comes out of the microwave, the pork looks like it's all stuck together, but I just separated a little bit so that you can see the individual grains. And when you take out your rice, it too is going to be like quite squashed because it grows when it's cooking, of course, and it's sitting right at the bottom. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my pork and my carrots to my rice. Get all the lovely flavor. And of course the pork, as it's cooking, its flavor goes down into the rice as well. Now I've got my veggies, which I'm going to add onto here. And now we're going to chop up the fresh ingredients, so fresh parsley. When you use parsley, basil, cilantro, all things like that, they should always go in at the end of the recipe. You don't cook with them. They're much better to use fresh. So here we have our apple and our parsley. So there's our apple and parsley. And I'm going to add into that some olive oil and a bit of apple vinegar. Because it's pork, I just want to try and bring the flavor of the pork out with a hint of apple. So now I have like a vinaigrette pesto with apple, parsley, and vinegar and oil. So now we're going to add all of this into here.
How can it not be good?
It's going to be amazing. So we add all of it in. We don't want to waste any. And of course, that's why the Tupperware spatula is so good, because you can get every last bit out. In fact, if you make a cake with it, your kids are going to hate you because there's nothing left to lick in the bowl. So you actually just have to leave it until...
Thank you, Melanie.
Okay, so now my job is to mix. You see the rice, it looked all clumped up, but look, they're all individual grains. And as you mix it together, and I've got some little tomatoes to go in as well to add to that delicious color. Look at this. Like, don't you just want to eat this right now? And it smells delicious, but you can really smell the apple cider, and it's going to be super fun. So just so if any of my family are watching, this is coming home with me, so this is going to be dinner tonight. So there you go. How about that for a recipe which really, if you have your carrots peeled and cut in your fridge smart, if you have your florets cut, if you have your peppers cut, you have your onions. In fact, what I do now is every Sunday night I cut up about 4 or 5 onions, fill up one of my fridge smarts and keep it in the fridge for the week. Now you have everything ready to go, so making supper becomes a joy rather than a chore. So there we have it. That's a complete recipe from the 4-in-1 stack cooker. So the last thing I'm going to do this morning is make pizza dough. So using the same piece of equipment, the Power Chef. In here I've got a cup of flour and some pizza yeast. It's about a tablespoon of pizza yeast. I've got a little bit of salt and a little bit of sugar, and I'm going to add now, using the Tupperware counterscape, which means no dripping, I'm going to add 3 tablespoons of oil. And then the other magic ingredient, it's cooled down.
Oh, just put it in.
Okay, I'm just going to heat my water up because I need to have hot water for the yeast to be able to react. Otherwise, your dough is not going to rise. So while I'm waiting for that to cook, let me show you our Tupperware. It's got salt in it from somewhere. Our Tupperware breakfast maker, and one of the ways I use my breakfast maker every day is to make poached eggs. So if you look at this, you'll see that it has a little line inside, and what the line inside does is it allows you to put your water to the line. Usually I just do it from the tap.
I'm going to do very close up and show us the line. Hang on.
So now you can see the line.
Okay, go.
So you can see the line. And now when I put it down, I just put the water in up to the line. And then all I do is break one egg into each slot. And you have to work out the timing for your microwave, whether you want soft eggs or hard eggs. I actually did an amazing recipe yesterday, and I made cheese sauce and toast and veggies, and I ended up with a superb Eggs Benedict. But this we're going to cook here for a minute 15 at 90% power. And just so you don't have to wait to see that, I'm going to show you, here is some poached eggs that I made earlier. And we did it 1 minute 15.
Oh,
and
wow,
all you do is use a slotted spoon to get them out, and now you have a delicious lunch in a minute 15. So tell me that never tell me you don't have time to cook, because there you have it, easy to do poached eggs.
That's impressive, Melanie.
So we'll put the eggs over here. And now I have my water ready. So the last ingredient, remember, cup of flour, 3 tablespoons of oil, some pizza yeast, a little bit of salt and pepper, and now we're going to add in 2/3 of a cup of hot water. The hotter the better. If you do it too cool, it just doesn't work so well. And now in a matter of seconds, I'm going to pull this, and straight away, I don't know if you can see that it's harder to pull. Look at that, the dough is already forming. So what I'm going to do is, there's the dough starting to form. I'm going to put a little bit more flour in because I want to handle it. So we'll just pull it a little bit more. And look at that, it falls off the blades, which is how you know that it's not too sticky. It looks like this. And if you have cold hands, this is really good because it's lovely and warm. So now you take it out. Look at that. In seconds, you formed your dough. So now I'm going to take my dough, and I'm going to use the top of my Tupperware Ultra Pro, which goes in the microwave and the oven. And I'm going to just knead it out to the edges. Now, I like my dough to be fairly thick, so I'm just using the Tupperware Ultra Pro, the smaller one. If you like your dough to be really skinny, you can use the same amount of dough and actually put it onto the larger one, which is the Tupperware lasagna pan, so that this amount of dough will go onto here and you have a really skinny one. But I like it to be a little bit thicker. So as you can see, you just work it with your fingers, and it works like a dream, and your fingers get nice and warm, and you feel, oh my goodness, I can't believe I'm making my own pizzas. Imagine how much money you would save if you made your own pizzas. Pizzas at home, you're lucky to get away with a $45 bill for pizzas at home. In fact, we used to have pizza night every Friday night, and I used to tell my kids it was a treat for them. It was a treat for me because I didn't have to cook, but it wasn't a treat for them because I was just filling them with fat, sugar, and salt. Now I know what's in my pizzas. Look at that. How easy was that? Tell me that wasn't easy. And obviously we've got our marinara sauce, which we're going to spread on the top, which is here. Maria? So all I do for that is I just use a spoon. I just spoon a little bit of your sauce, and honestly you really don't need much. But what I've found is that when I do this and I give it to my guests or even to my family, and you know families, they're not big on compliments. But when I give it to my guests or my family, everybody says what they love about this the most is the fresh taste. It doesn't taste like it was made 6 weeks ago and put in the freezer in a box, in a plastic. So now the final ingredient is cheese. Now I'm English, so mozzarella cheese, no flavor. So for me, the cheese I use is cheddar. And cheddar does have a little bit more fat, but it has way more flavor than that mozzarella stuff. So what we're going to do is we're going to grate this in our Tupperware cheese grater, which attaches to your bench so there's no chance of it slipping. And you just turn and abracadabra, I haven't got the best bowl here, you do your cheese. Now, if you buy cheese from Costco, you're going to buy job lots of cheese. So what do? I get my job lots of cheese, which means a big amount, and I'm going to put it into my freeze-its, and I'm going to freeze it in the portion size I need for my pizza. So the only thing I have to do when I make pizzas is to make the dough. Everything else is ready. So now all I'm going to do is put my cheese on the top of here, and because it's cheddar, it'll have a little bit more fat, but I tell you what, the taste is to die for. And my family are always very, very happy with me when I make them pizza. So there's the pizza, and just so that you can see what it looks like when it's done, there's a pizza ready-made. So that concludes my cooking for today.
Let's add everything up here. Yeah, hang on. Get that one there. Just in case some people joined us right now so they understand what has been happening here. Okay. Leave that there. That's fine.
Okay, so to recap, we have a pork all-in-one with rice, apples, carrots, all sorts of things. We have our pizza made with our own sauce, our own pizza dough. We have our poached eggs. Look at them, how beautiful they are. Make a nice creamy sauce with that and some asparagus or some ham, and you've got a delicious Eggs Benedict. On the top, we have our crumble that was made on top of the popcorn chicken and the marinara sauce on the bottom. So I think you'll agree that's a great selection of recipes for your family to feast on for a few days. So thank you very much for your attention, and bye for now.
Woo! Thank you, Melanie.
Oh, you